Those first 5 episodes do that really well. Pulling. The web gets like this. And then the second half of the season is when those strings break.
What do you think for viewers is the most important thing for them to keep in their brain as they're coming into this first episode back after having been off for a while?
Vic's a busted snitch. I think that's big. It's like, how the hell is he going to survive that, right? I think they have to be like, what the F? You know, Miguel took Maria. Tommy's going to be ballistic. He's going to be on fire. Like, what's he going to do? We answer that question right off the bat, right? And I think we're going to also ask, is Shanti and Jannard going to get away with their plan to be the Trojan horse in the Diamond Tommy Egan drug business in Chicago?
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up, OG?
Never getting rid of me, ever.
No, thank God.
It feels like Tommy is pulled in the most directions at the beginning of the season than we've ever seen him. There's so many things battling for his attention. One, would you agree with that? And how do you think he's handling it? And then maybe two, Isaac, how do you think Diamond is feeling about all of that?
I think you're right, Kim, that this is truly, Gary did that on purpose in a lot of ways, because we knew that we had to wrap this thing up in some ways. He was just like, all right, look, this has got to be an impossible task in some capacity that Tommy doesn't have to figure out every aspect of it. It's like, we have to set up this thing in a real way, because Tommy, like, season 1, hot knife through butter, just kind of sliding through Chicago, that we had to say, and in season 2, Gary stopped that, but he had to say why he stopped it in expanding the world and showing the diversification within the diversification of Chicago. To set up the spider web within the spider web. So Tommy is truly pulled in all of these different directions, whether it's love, whether it's loyalty, whether it's the game, whether it's not knowing who to trust, whether it's trusting people too much that are very close to him. Let's not forget about what that family can pull, and the play and the situations that D-Mac and also Kate inevitably puts him in. Those first 5 episodes do that really well. Pulling. The web gets like this. And then the second half of the season is when those strings break. And that's what's really fun about this season to me.
Hell yeah. Isaac, talk to me. Diamond, how is he feeling about that?
A lot of times when you have conflict, it's because it's a mirror effect. You're looking at yourself in a mirror. And I think that Diamond is actually looking at Tommy in so many ways, like, okay, I see that, but I see that in me. So now it causes conflict. And he starts to draw a lot of lines in the sand. He's like, hey, I told you not to do that. You did that. You're dating Maria. Now you're in love. But I need you to focus up on this coalition. So now I asked you to do this over here, but you didn't get that done. And then Diamond is still trying to, involve, again, this peace aspect. But, can you really have peace in this? And Tommy's not looking for peace. Tommy's looking for a complete takeover. And, Diamond's trying to be on board with that, but they just kind of go about it in different ways.
Joseph, don't listen to this part. All right, Isaac. So there's so many times in the past, but I noted it a lot in the beginning of the season too, where Diamond's like, hold on a minute. What about 2 weeks down the line? Or what about when you take out this person and then 10 other people want to kill us? Yeah. Let's just hold a beat. And Tommy's like, no, I got it. Is he near his breaking point? Are we getting to a level of frustration that maybe he hasn't reached before in the series this season?
Well, I know Isaac was. Isaac was at his breaking point. Like, how much is he going to continue to take? How much does Diamond continue to take? And I think that's what's great about the development in the characters, because it's not Isaac, it's Diamond. And Diamond has this patience in a way that can be frustrating to anyone else. The emotional intelligence is sometimes very frustrating to those who want to be impulsive, because they don't want to listen to logic. Logic is not in the key. They want to act off the emotions. And when Diamond's over trying to be logical in the situation, they're like, oh, you're blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, let's go get it done. And that's what the Tommy character is. He wants to go get it done. It's like, no, nobody's going to stop us. We'll get it done. And we'll deal with it, whatever else later. And just always kind of looked at it from a perspective of just calculation, like, okay, like chess. We move this point here, what's he going to do next? But in some ways, it's working. It's like another way of doing things that Diamond just, trying to either come on board with, which he does, but how long can he be aboard that ship? And, and who's the captain, or is it co-captain? And it goes back and forth.
And I love that sometimes Tommy is just like, Diamond, hold up. And he's like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
I would say this to you, Kim. All of our storylines this season are under the idea that power is a drug. And what are people willing to do in order to get power What are they willing to do when they lose it? And what are they willing to do to get it back? And the answer to that question is where our season lives. And the answer to that question is brutality, like in big terms.
Jenard and Diamond are closer, I would say, this season, or at least working more in concert than they have. Is he trusting that? Does he trust Jenard?
I love that in the season 2, episode 5, when they gave us a little context to the relationship, why Diamond's always looking after Jenard, when they had the conversation with his father in the hospital. And, you know, when he made the promise to his father, when he finally understood why his father treated him so badly and so poorly, but tried to always look after Jenard. You know, when I'm saying that, I think it gave context to the audience and the fans to understand, okay, why does he keep on pulling this brother back up by the bootstraps and bringing him back into the fold? And why you just don't let him go? Or they say, off your brother. I'm like, can you off your brother like that? You know, so I think, and that dynamic is, as Joseph said, seeing that relationship between brothers is something that is different, because we're actually blood brothers. But his brother actually tried to kill him. And in a sense, it's like, but you still gonna hold on to that? Yeah. And I think as he going to season 3, he's hopeful and he's naive to think, you know, that his brother can make that big of a change, a transition. I mean, he tried to kill him, but in that world, that's almost kind of normal. You know, in that world, it's almost kind of normal. And I think that's why the fans are like, whoa, wait a minute, because in that world, in that street world, it's almost normal. So he's looking past it when other people can't necessarily look past it and moving on to his everyday life of trying to just, you know, build a coalition and try to bring them back into the fold. While Tommy's still very resistant, Tommy sees it, but that love for family, and just like what Tommy has that love for Maria, when you're blinded by love, you're blinded by a lot of the red flags that come along with it. And I think that's what a lot of this show shows, a lot of that, is that how love and the dynamics of how you can be blinded and how you would do so much for something that won't necessarily do the same back for you.
I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're conceiving the end of one of these stories or a stopping point for one of these stories, that you want to pay homage to the genre, but you don't want to do what everyone else has done. And I'm wondering if you can talk, first of all, if I'm wrong, tell me. But second, like, if you can talk about that balance and how you chose things as you approached what will be the end of this story.
That's the challenge of, like, how do you not do what's been done before? And how do you satisfy and deliver upon the promise that you made to the audience originally, right? And they have expectations. My job, I think, as a showrunner, as a writer, and as a storyteller, is to subvert those expectations. Like, I want to give you some of what you want, but I want to give you something that you have no idea you wanted. And I do. And in our last few episodes, we do things that you're going to be like, what? It's, to me, and my feeling is like Breaking Bad did that so well. And we try to do that in the ending of this show in our last few episodes. And I think you'll be very surprised at the end of the day, who is standing and who is not. And what threads do I leave open? I can use them and pull them into anything else I want, if I choose to want to, down the line.
Before I have to let you go, when we spoke for Fall Preview, you teased some familiar faces, possibly from the original Power series. Now we're friends. You're going to tell me something about that. You're going to give me some kind of clue about that. An episode, a hint, anything. I'll take it.
As storytellers of these universe spin-offs of Power, we have all that backlog of characters to use at our disposal. And I will say that in this season of Legacy, I dip into that OG Power 2 or 3 times. And I think one of them will be very, like, super surprising. I can't say who, but it comes in the next episode, actually. It comes in, it's 6. So when you have 6, know that you and I had this conversation and I gave you a little tidbit.